today's video, I'm going to unbox this Firman generator that I bought. This is not a sponsored video. This just happens to be the generator that I purchased. I got it at Costco, February of 2021, and it was $969.99, $970 basically. And it was on sale for $200 off. So let's open it up, see what we got, and then we'll go through the procedure of running the unit. These were in the box, as you probably saw when I was cutting it open. Quick start and stop guide. Looks fairly detailed. We'll go through that as we feel up the unit and run it and all that. Looks like that's the same thing. I have this generator on a dolly. I don't know if you can see it under there. You can see it in the other video. It's heavy to move around. It's 230 pounds. I checked the box. So you're going to have to do a little effort to get this. And I've raised it up off of the ground, pulled it out here, and I have this raised up to do the first step of assembly, which is put the wheel on. You got a handy little quick start guide here. So we're going to take the wheel. See this part that has the protrusion out there? It's not on this side. This is the side you want facing out. So as per our instructions, we take our bolt, put it through here, then we have a washer, which I'm actually going to go down and show you the other angle here. From this side, this is how we want to do it. And I'm going to change the angle of the camera here from down below. From underneath, here is our bolt. Let's move that wheel, see the hole? That's for the cotter pin. So we put the washer on. And then turn your bolt so that you see the hole for this cotter pin to go on. The cotter pin will secure that in place. Push that cotter pin through, and there you have it. Same technique on the opposite side, obviously. Take our wheel, part that protrudes out goes in towards the generator. Put our bolt through the hole and put that through the two holes on the frame of the generator. Put our washer there, and again cotter pin. On the opposite end of the generator, we have this bracket for it to rest on. So we just put the wheels on the front, and it rests on the wheels there, and here it's the bracket. If you can see where my finger is, you get two bolts, one there, one over here. Those bolts will go through the hole in this bracket here. And then we have the nut, two nuts. They screw on from the bottom. I'll just loosely put that on there for a second. And then I'll put our My bolt came through the hole, so there's the bolt. Bracket on, and I will screw that other, thread that other nut on from the bottom here. Generator has a nice heavy handle already installed on it. So now that I have our lower support in place, I'm going to kick these blocks out and set her down. And surprisingly enough, considering it's 230 pounds, it seems to be relatively easy to move around. On the top of the generator, we have the fuel cap. And there is a filter in here. Get that out. Well, you can see it anyway. That's just for filtering any crap in the fuel. As you can see from this, the unit holds 8 gallons or 30 liters. So that's some pretty serious capacity. And over here we have the fuel gauge. First thing you want to do if you have this generator is go over this operator's manual. Read all your safety instructions and all that kind of thing that's associated with this. These can be extremely dangerous if operated in enclosed spaces, and there's all sorts of good warnings about that in the manual. So anyways, we can see up here, this is referred to as a tri-fuel generator. I'm going to mention right now, I will only be running it in the rest of this video on gasoline. So, if you were interested in running it on LPG, or, what is it? 2 types. Liquid petroleum or natural gas. This would be where you would connect your fuel source if you were going to run this generator off of one of those 2 sources of fuel. Here's our main fuel selector switch. This is in the off position. That's where you want it to be when you're not using it. Over here is our LPG or natural gas. As I said, I'll never be using that. And over here, this side is gasoline, which is where I will be putting it. There's a breaker switch. This is a great option. If it's overloaded or shorts out, this breaker should operate. Never trust that. Always be careful when you're running it, but that's a great feature. Here's our inputs, and they're marked down below. That's a 50 amp, 120 volts, or 240 volt, or I should say output from the generator there. Here we've got 30 amps, 120 volts, 240 volts. And here's your standard if you are running something generally off of your residential in your house type of thing, just 120 volt, 30 amp output here. Here we have standard outlet, as you would see in your house. That's 120 volts, 20 amps, and that's a GFI. So if you had a overload on this, you would press this button to reset it after you resolve whatever the issue was. And there's a breaker for this right here. If we were going to run this generator with natural gas or LPG, we would just connect this hose there. I don't see in the manual where it says to actually hang this unit here. It's probably in the manual somewhere. I didn't see it. Obviously, this is for putting this power cord for hanging it. So I'm just for the moment going to put it out of the way where be something like that. I'm looking through the manual to see what this connector, these two connectors are, and I do not see where they mention that, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be connected up to charge the battery here. Anyway, we'll go back to that. You see these two connect together like that, and we can see the black and the red cord go to the battery. At any rate, right now we're going to get to about the most important thing of this whole procedure. You do not want to forget your oil, because if you do, you might ruin your beautiful new generator. Now I'm gonna get a piece of paper towel. It appears that it is shipped with a little bit of oil in it. Read your manual. It talks about, where's it at? Filling it up with oil. We're going to do that. But get familiar with that manual and how to read your dipstick. This is the dipstick. I'm going to turn this back in there and then get another reading. To get a valid reading of how much oil is in your generator, let it sit on a flat surface. I'd say for at least 10 or 15 minutes. Make sure that all the oil has gone down to the bottom of the engine. We can get a valid reading. If you see by my finger right there, there's an H. That's the high mark. You can see an L there. That's the low mark. Apparently, according to the user's manual, there is a safety device in this generator which should shut the generator down if there's not enough oil in it. That's a great feature. I would never trust it, although I'm sure this is a good, well-manufactured machine, but I would never want to run an engine so low on oil that a safety feature like that would have to kick in. So, I think I might have mentioned, I thought this might have been shipped with oil. I was incorrect. Maybe just a little bit there that might have jiggled around down in the crankcase and we saw it on here. But as we can see, there was no oil in this. So I'm going to take our fancy funnel that was provided and put some oil into this. So here's the funnel they provided. Here's the oil they provided. This was sealed, but I cut the seal off of the top of it. The owner's manual says to empty the contents of the 32 fluid ounce container into the generator. Now, I'm not going to put it all in at once. Maybe it will take that whole quart of oil. I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some in, let it set for a minute, then take another reading as to the level. It turns out that the generator did take the full container of oil to get to the high mark. Hopefully you can see that. It is always a good idea to put a bit in it at a time, as we did though. And I just want to mention, especially with an oil filler like this that's on an angle, when you go to put this in, like, don't be like clicking or try to put it in directly, so that the dipstick will give you an accurate reading. Install it back in clockwise to tighten it, and you don't have to get too ridiculous as far as tightening it up. I've got gasoline in the generator. Getting ready to start the unit up here. It appears that our gauge is pretty accurate. I put a little over 4 gallons into it, and we can see our fuel gauge is a little bit more than half. Put our fuel selector to gasoline. Our choke is over here. On the left, as you can see, is start. On the right is run. If you're a newbie to engines like this, you just put the choke on to get more fuel when you start the unit up. So we're going to put it over there. Here's our pull cord, and we'll give this thing a hook. What I wanted to illustrate when I was showing you the voltage readings between the ground and the positive wire over to our battery was that this is basically it's like an alternator, it's like a charging unit to charge up this battery. Because this battery, or this generator I should say, can be started without the pull cord as we started it. Now this, I suspect this battery isn't charged enough to illustrate that now, but according to the manual, I think this is the start button you'd use if the battery was charged up. In that last portion of the video, I was just trying to show you the voltage outputs, which all seem to be working correctly by using that voltmeter. If you want to know anything about using that multimeter I had there, I will put a link down to the bottom of the video. I hope this video was helpful. I had the generator running for about 10 minutes. I'm hoping that maybe that charged up the battery enough that it will start the generator, just so that I can illustrate that. So I don't know if it's going to work or not. We're going to give it a try. So I'll turn the fuel on.